Good evening. Hello. Hi. I want to welcome everyone to this planning work session for our Planning and Zoning Commission. Let's see, we have a couple of items on our work session. The first one is Stony View subdivision. There's a preliminary discussion on new idea construction. So, who's speaking to that? Oh, podium, please.
Yes, I'm Bill Short of New Idea Construction. Glad to meet all you all. Know of some of you don't.
Right.
I actually was born and raised here in Berea, so I'm not planning on going anywhere. So I actually live right down from Stony Creek, and I understand the traffic problems and things like that. So I do know that. I want you to know that up front. So I live down in a little white house before you get to Stony Creek coming out of Berea there. What we're asking for in this is 230 lots through the whole thing. The way if we ask for the limit of what we could put in there, it would be like 400. But we know the traffic issues, and we know that's just not feasible because there is other development. I own some other property that is in this subdivision that hopefully years to come I will be able to develop it. So we don't want to try to overcrowd it now. So if you've got the plan, it kind of shows what we're asking for. I'm willing to take any questions about it that you would like.
So just to give a little more, I've put on the aerial kind of just a general layout of where this is. So you've got a proposed development. Now this is not a preliminary plat, it is merely a conceptual plan. And the reason that we wanted to get it in front of Planning Commission now is that this developer just wanted to know how to proceed in terms of, again, traffic, some of those things that we've been hearing. And if I zoom out much further, I'm going to lose my lot lines, so I'm going to do this at a couple of different angles. This is the section of land back here that we're talking about. So this is the proposed Stony View subdivision. And as you can see, it's just south of Mountain View Drive. Our second, just for reference, our second agenda item are these two streets right here, this little loop right here called Branch View Drive and an extension of Stony Creek Way. And so just to the northeast, more east of that development. And so if I zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to see a little bit more about where those lot lines actually lay. And so again, as he said, they're proposing up to 230 lots.
Yeah, 230 is probably going to be, there's going to be a couple bigger lots that we're going to have. And this will have an HOA. That way they maintain, if it's a green space that, like for the retention ponds or anything like that, the HOA will be required to oversee that and keep it maintained. So that's a little bit of difference of Stony Creek itself. That's the reason we're having to change the name to Stony View Estates is what we're going to call it. And it's just so they will maintain the green space areas and the retention ponds. That way the city is not required to do anything liable of that.
Okay. Is this what we have? Is that what this
Yep.
is?
So that's like the aerial with just an overlay of a proposed design on top of it.
Okay.
Did we ever hear anything about the stop signs or anything like that being put in? And anything new on that?
Stop signs where?
Or a stoplight, if they were wanting a stoplight or?
So that's a transportation issue. So KYTC would be the agency that would, or you're talking about for the main entrance?
From the main, yeah, because if we're gonna have that many more flowing through that same.
what I understand is that KYTC is not, I can't say, because that would be a decision of theirs. And, I would be, surprised on a 55-mile-an-hour road if they would put a stoplight there.
Yeah, at this time, it's not. I have talking to them, and it's not, right now, it's not on their agenda to do anything with that.
Yeah.
But now, the road, it is in process of getting the turning lanes in.
That was gonna be the next
Yes,
question. So
yeah,
there's gotta be
that
some
is,
sort of-
that's all going about. Rodney is my nephew, have you all know, I know you all probably, Rodney's been up here many a time. And I've had this discussion with Rodney. There was some problems that the state wanted them to change, so they got the changes back to the state, so the approval, and he's telling me at the end of September to 1st of October, those turning lanes will be in, and the blacktop is supposed to be coming in. So that's gonna make a big difference in that area right there. And I know that is, to my understanding, that's a requirement, is what he explained to me before he can even get the final on the next that he's got to get approved. So, and I know it, this wouldn't be we wouldn't be able to get a final on it if that's not done.
So your entrance and the exit into this facility, proposed, area is through
Wildwood.
Wildwood?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
existing, okay.
And I have talked to traffic engineers, because I was trying to see if I could get a traffic study, but until that turning lanes are put in, you know, they're telling me, they said, well, we can kind of tell you, but we can't really do the traffic study until then, because they don't know how long a car's sitting there, because it's going to completely change it when you have a turning lane in there.
Right.
At this time, where you don't have the turning lanes, they can't do that traffic study and come up here and be honest with you and tell you how long you're sitting there.
But you do intend to do the traffic study?
Do what, ma'am?
You do intend to do a traffic study once the turning lanes are in there?
Yeah, I've already got them, and I've told them that. I actually sent them another letter back, or an email back, and told them I want to go ahead with that, because like I said, I own not just this piece of property, but I don't know if you've ever been in there lately, but when you go up on the cornfield, Mr. Carpenter has some corn growing there, but I actually purchased that piece of property too. I'm wanting to do something a little different with it, make bigger lots, make it a little bit nicer. I talked to Mr. Fraley, Mayor Fraley, about that, maybe making a little bit nicer subdivision for Berea at that time, and the lots would be 1 acre to 2 acres, and I think that's what Berea needs. And then it would take those lot numbers down, even though it's 100 and something acres, it would take those lots down, probably the max I'd get in there would be maybe 40 at that time. I'm kind of looking for the future in that. That's the reason I've kind of not asking for no more than what we're asking for in the very back, so we don't my mother lives in there too, so I know the issues in this area, and, but as a developer, I've got to be able to ask for enough to develop it and come out and make sure that, that it's feasible for me to do it, and this many lots is about what I need to do to be able to develop it and pay the bank and interest and everything back.
So the only comment that I would have is, as I continue to grow more and more concerned about the development that's there with only one entrance. And I see no movement to tie in to potentially have another interest. Don't get me wrong, Dixie Park, Roselawn, all that, I love everybody out there. But I think we all know
What is it?
that that has been a problem for many, many years. And I continue to grow concerned when we're adding 180, 190, 200, then another 40 and whatever, which will bring the count up to what out there? And at what point do we look at this and say, okay, folks, we need to figure out another entrance and exit to this place,
And we're
not just have one.
Yeah, and we're working, Dylan, see on that. I know this next phase that's going in, they're gonna have a gate there.
That's an
I've talked to
emergency gate, and
Mr.
I get
Taylor.
that.
I've talked
I
to
get
Mr.
that.
Taylor about
It's
that
an emergency
too.
gate for
Yes.
emergency vehicles and all that stuff. I'm talking about a bona fide
Yeah.
entrance and exit
Yeah,
to the back end of this place, instead of everybody flying through one main thoroughfare to get back to here or wherever it may be. The numbers are starting to mushroom
yeah.
out there
Yes.
from a development standpoint, and I grow concerned about the traffic and the safety.
How many are there out there now? Do you know?
Like 400 and, what is it, 400 that's approved or something like that, like 430 to
So-
460?
I've got let me open this, I actually, did a
And I-
little structure count, so this is gonna be really hard for you all to read. So I'm gonna do the best I can to explain it. Let me turn some of this off. Okay, so in this front section right here, there is, one, two, a potential, right? So either proposed, as in, I have a number, it's sitting on my desk, coming to planning commission, right? Or they're already built. So that, this orange section is about, it's 106 apartments, 106 single family, and 32 duplexes. This pink section is 107 single family. This little teal green is 85 single family. This connector to Crestview, that's the section we're looking at this evening.
Right.
That's 102. And then I put 216 down, so he's saying more like 230 back in here in the blue. So with that, I had 570 counted. They've added a little more, so more like 585. And that's what, that would include this section back here, but would not include, you know, there's some existing infrastructure right here. So you can see where the road, the base is in right here, that's existing infrastructure. And then there's some potential growth right here.
So if I use my Eastern Kentucky University math and say that every one of those folks have 2 cars, right? That's almost 1,200 cars.
Yes, sir. And I've got some references here.
1,170 actually.
Yeah,
but-
actually, in some of the other, there is other subdivisions that has more at this time and still got land to develop as far as Golden Leaf subdivision. You've got approximately right now 778 units in there, plus 2 contractor offices and garages, a commercial building when you first come in, and 20 storage buildings and offices in the back. They've got a smaller and a less, they don't have the entrance that we've got coming into Stony Creek. Shallow Point, Boone's Trace. There's 3 right there that I just found just kind of off the top of my head that has this many or more, and then at Golden Leaf, and they don't even have an emergency exit. You know, that's kind of how that is. And we're working on that, trying to get something figured out about making it a full, complete entrance. I don't know what we have to do that. I've talked with Judge Taylor about it. You know, he's concerned about it, but I think it benefits, you know, the subdivision. It benefits the county. It's not just the city of Berea, you know, those are county residents. So I think that we need to, you know, work on, still just try to keep working on that.
Who owns the emergency exit?
The county is the county road.
County owns it?
Yes, yeah. And we've talked about a lot of different ways to try to, get that into the city, and I've even talked with this with Amanda, and I've agreed to, and I even talked to Mr. Taylor about it, Judge Taylor, is about widening the road what it needs to be, putting a new coat of blacktop on it, because we're gonna be using it. Right now, it's a mess, you know, and that's, me and Judge Taylor went out there and looked at it. I said, you know, reckon it's a mess right now. I'm willing to clean it up when it comes to getting my stuff back there. And I'll dress it up and make it nice for the people to come in and out of.
Where would that come out?
It come at the top, right up there, right above the store.
This,
You know where the
Coming
store
through
is?
Crest-
Crestview, yeah.
Crest
And that's
subdivision, that's
yes.
the church.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
so this
Yeah.
green line right here, I just, I drew it in here when I was doing the structure count. So the green line is where Crestview Drive comes in. And, you know, it makes the most sense. We've talked about this in the past, when they originally did Stony Creek and showed this grand plan, they showed 5 different ways in and out, you know? And at each of those, there have been roadblocks, you know, so the reality is, they showed another entrance down here on Richmond Road. The state has said absolutely not, it's too close to White Station Road, and it's too close to Herndon Lane.
Yeah. At that time, the
You can't have
research
that.
just was not really done. Like I said, they put it on paper and
They
it
put it
looked
on
good.
paper.
But
Yeah.
the research wasn't done on this, and it's become a problem now, you know, and, you
Can
know,
I ask Amanda a question? Can you look at the future use on the right-hand side of that,
Yeah.
of that farmland?
Yeah.
And what I was thinking, if it was to do, leave a couple lots open for another access, because eventually I would say that would run into 25. But that's,
To
yeah,
Herndon Lane?
yeah, there, or no, the old 25.
So,
You can't
Oh,
get
so-
to
oh,
her,
well,
yeah, you can't do Herndon Lane because there's a ravine down there. And
Yeah,
you
that's
got
what
the
I was
gas
gonna
line.
say.
Yeah,
yeah, and you've got a lot of,
because there's that farm, there's a farm there, it's for sale. And I would say, I don't know what I know that there's been a farm there for sale for a long time,
the
but
Chowings, I think, own
that's
that piece of
Paul
property.
Reynolds had something back in that there too.
So that's where it goes to county, so where.
Oh, is that
you're
where to go
s-
county? Oh,
Yep,
okay, I got you. I
So
see.
where you're seeing my map, like when I turned it on, that
Yeah.
layer, where that comes on is city limits. And everything else that doesn't have that layer is in Madison County.
Okay,
Even on that, when, at the original thing, when I bought this piece of property, they had a lot, this piece of property has a lot going into Mountain View subdivision. Well, it was just put there, just like you said, when you look at it, you think, oh, there's another entrance there. Well, no, it specifically states, and as some of the subdivisions I've done, I put that in there, is you cannot access another piece of property from a lot. And they do that just for that reason, just to keep, you know, somebody from coming in that owns 100 acres right beside of it, just running a road in there and tying in and being able to do that. So, but you can't access that subdivision. Now, this other subdivision, the road was stubbed out, and that's what I told Judge Taylor. I said, you know, it was stubbed out for future access. We all know that. There's not a cul-de-sac on it, and when you don't put a cul-de-sac, rightfully, you're supposed to have a cul-de-sac on a dead-end street for a bus to turn around, or unless you've got enough room for them to back out. They're not supposed to back up. But I just feel like it, you know, we need to keep pushing to get that entrance in, because I think that's the only feasible entrance that we'll ever have.
And the issue with what I understand with the old US 25 is, it's more a feasibility issue. So from what I understand is, you know, in a floodplain, and it was basically shown where like a creek is.
Yeah.
So again, it just kind of looked good on paper, but I don't have a lot of details about that connection to old US 25. Again, what seems to be most realistic is this Crestview Drive. And so on that second agenda item, again, you'll see that on those plans, it shows kind of this half cul-de-sac almost, and that crash gate into Crestview. And then in speaking with the city's legal counsel, you know, their stance is that it is the planning commission's job to ensure that we have connectivity to a public way, and Crestview Drive is a public way.
And we have these subdivisions coming out, and that's what I talked with Judge Taylor about. I said, you know, we've got these coming out all over in every county and every state. You've got city streets coming out on county roads. I don't know how And like I said, legally, how you can stop, if you stop it in one place, why not stop it in all of them? And, they're not gonna do that. I just feel like that it's, like I said, my mother lives in there, and I understand these issues. I understand the traffic. There's sometimes I can pull out of my driveway and without a problem, because I live right across from White Station Road there, close to it. There's times that, you gotta sit there for 3 minutes before you can pull out.
You, excuse me, you had indicated that you had 230 lots.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there's 216 on here.
I think we've got a different, Maya, did you send her the updated one of this one?
I don't,
This is Dwayne, he's,
okay, I must have just pulled the old
Oh,
one.
okay.
So if you guys have it, I'm happy to pass them around. Okay. Oh, okay.
Let you look at it.
Okay.
I have it back.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Sorry for pulling the old one.
I say what you gotta do, is you gotta go to the county.
Or maybe to bring it back to the council and do a traffic study
Back to the street. You got to
better about it.
As you can see how we've got a lot of areas in there that'll be nothing but green space. We'll give a better feel than the houses being crowded right on top of each other.
Yeah, I like the green space. If it's maintained.
As you have them in different locations.
Amanda, what's on the yellow subdivision? That's not in, like, got anything on it yet?
So that's what, they're bringing a preliminary plat this evening.
This evening's the second one.
Yeah, we're not voting on it this evening, but we'll discuss it after this.
Well, why can't this?
So are the ponds pre-existing, or are these gonna be retention basins?
We
Catch
plan on
water.
trying to use those as retention, because they're dried up, they're not, they're old ponds, so we'll have to clean them out and try to use them as retention. We're using them for silt right now, just for any type of runoff and anything that's been going on. So we're planning on trying to base those on being the retention.
What's the chance, Bill, of the county hooking into the older subdivision, that, Mercy Road?
Well, that's, and I say this, we may have to get lawyers involved to make, I don't know how they can actually do that. I don't know. I've been told that legally they can't do that. They can't block the road. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just trying to get my feel of what I can do and what I can't do, because, I got a lot of money tied up out here. And I'm just trying to get my feel of what you all are gonna accept and what you're not gonna accept, and the road I need to take before I, being honest with you, get a lot more tied into it.
Tell me again, where is this emergency road?
It's not on mine.
But it'll be right here,
But we
but
have a set of plans that actually shows that.
Yeah, that's Crescent right there.
this is Crestview Drive right here.
Okay.
So if you're coming, just to give you some reference, this, where's that circular drive? the animal hospital is this building right here. So if you go on up North Richmond Road, this is that little gas station. And just past that gas station, it's that first right. And so that crash gate would be right here. And then this is Mountain View Drive.
If you put a road right through this subdivision,
Is that a homeowner association of Crestview? Does anybody know?
I doubt
It
it.
was built in the 70s.
Yeah, I
Well,
doubt
it
it.
was bought by a group of people that sells the lots off for the people at the church, mostly. And I'm not sure that that's a road back there belongs to the county, that street does. It might not. Y'all have checked in probably since I have, but I'm not sure that that's gonna work.
It is a county maintained
It
road.
is county maintained all the way past the church, straight back. You're not
Yep.
talking about the lower
It's not
loop.
This-
been maintained, but it is a county road.
Well, it's
It's
on their
terrible.
list to maintain, let me put it that
Yeah,
way.
it's terrible, and that's the reason that I told Judge Taylor, I said, you know, you're gonna get out of the maintenance this, because we're gonna fix it, and it's gonna be updated. So it takes the cost off of the county, and then gives Stony Creek another exit. To me, it's a gain for everybody.
If I was in your shoes, I'd be doing that too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure that it's right to just keep opening these places up back here for 200 lots here and 400 lots there, so somebody can make money, nothing personal.
Oh, yeah.
Then dumping all the traffic down onto these subdivisions that we'd already let go in, not counting Crestview. We're dumping the traffic out all the way out there next to the dog kennel where you go in, and I've not really seen anything yet that says that there'll be a turn lane there that'll ease the traffic, or that there'll be a emergency gate back there that'll ease the traffic. That emergency gate, it's not gonna ease the traffic,
No,
because it's for emergency, you know,
That's
it's
right.
not gonna ease the traffic now, you know.
that's right.
I mean, I'd like to see some action before we decide to keep on. I mean, I know he's got his money tied up, I mean, that's one of the things, and I know the whole family, and I'd like to help them all I can. But I'd like to see something that's gonna happen here to get some relief for those people back there before we keep on. I don't know how many people's been in it here that's been in there here lately, drove back through there, but believe me, if I ain't got kin folks back there, I ain't got none nowhere.
Would, I mean, would it be feasible just to have Crescent, and just have that street run on in to your subdivision and have a, like I was saying, the people that lives in the northern part of that subdivision has a out that way, and the people southern
And that's
part.
why we're pushing for Crestview. Like I
Okay.
said, we're all wanting it. The
Yeah.
county's just saying we can't have it, you know, and that's kind of where, you know, where we're at on that. And we do have all that in, they do even have a bond, even on the state, that about, if I'm not correct, I don't know if you've got the bond or.
I don't.
I know it's in process, that it has to be done, and I know that the turning lanes and all that has to be in before even the agreement was, that even Rodney agreed with, that the last does not get approved for sale
Yeah.
until that is in. He's wanting to get that in too, because he knows that I'm falling in, behind him. He wants to clean everything up, because we're really at the end of anything that can be done in there. Nothing else can be tied to this subdivision from the back part of it. Well, unless you all have me put something in the subdivision, like a stub out for future development, but you don't want that, and we don't want any future development, but, you know,
Maybe not.
yeah.
Right now you don't.
Right now you don't, yeah.
So I think the direction for this evening is we should, you know, he's mentioned, of course, there's not a vote, but again, I think to just give him some direction. He mentioned traffic study, he mentioned, you know, trying to trudge forward on getting a legal answer on Crestview Drive. You know, what I'm hearing is the planning commission, I guess what we need to somewhat determine for him is that what is necessary, before we would approve an additional 230 homes out there?
And the turning lanes and
I
all
would think
that.
so
I
without question.
understand
I
that.
mean, I think somehow we've got to have a conversation with the county and just say, there is no way 230 more homes can go back there without.
That's 400 cars is if you do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just, I just don't see any way
Won't
that
always work, but
if Mountain View Drive doesn't exist as a legally, as the proper type of curbed and guttered roadway entrance, that, you know, it can't be just that crash gate, you know, gravel road, that kind of thing. It's gotta be a drivable, up-to-date road. That's your answer, I think.
Or at least a traffic study so that we, know that it is feasible.
Amanda, also, the utilities, sewer and water, electric, is it all updated out there to cover all, that many more houses?
I have talked to
You have
all
talked,
of
yeah,
all of
okay.
them.
That's what I was
Yes.
gonna say.
Last time's right, I should be asking you.
That's one of the first thing as a developer that.
So they got that in?
Yes, I have talked to the sewer department, the water department. The sewer department is on an upgrade on their pump stations and everything. That's been in plan because they knew what was going on back there. I discussed that with them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff that, that at the beginning, some of this stuff, like I said, I knew about. Some of the other kind of fell in later on, because usually as a developer, when you see a piece of property as PUD, you don't have all these problems because it's already zoned. So you're purchasing this piece of property thinking, well, it's under PUD, I can plan use development, so I'm able to go in there and do whatever I want to do, as long as you all approve that to that extent. But the biggest problem is if you say you can't use it, it really puts me at a, in a bad spot. So I've already purchased the property, not saying that, I don't understand your all's recommendations, and I understand them 100%, as far as the entrance and all that. I'm more than willing to do anything, make sure the entrance, I've been told it's gonna be put in, the new blacktop, they're bringing it up to the curb, they're supposed to be doing all that at the end of, September, the 1st of October, and I know that could change just a little bit. But I'm just kind of, like I said, wanting to get a feel of if that's done and the traffic survey's done and they say they can be, and I've had traffic surveys done before, so I feel confident about that. My guy with Prime is told me he's confident about it, that there's not a problem as far as that entrance, the way it's laid out, the traffic, you think it's a lot, but most of the time, I've been in and out of there 1,000 times. Most of the time you pull up, the most I've ever been out is 3 cars behind. Like I said, my mother's lived there for the last 5 years, so I'm in there a lot. I know the concerns, but I'm at a point where I just need to say, okay, if I get this done, am I gonna be okay, or do I need to try to go another round, another way?
Where's your construction road into here?
It's in the back of the subdivision, in the very back, whenever you come in, when you look. It's in there, and I've actually got all that. You can see, I've been
That's
doing.
Mountain View.
That's Mountain View, yeah. And that's the one that they've actually, I own that lot right there. And they show, trying to, like I said, fool people that you can't use it. They won't allow you to come out there into that.
Okay,
The subdivision stipulates that you can't
Okay.
access property. Okay,
so,
when you're coming in between, right here is the main.
yeah,
entrance.
that's the main
Yeah.
entrance.
And the reason they do that is so that they don't have.
Yeah, that's the main, that's your construction entrance to your subdivision. And this first 50 is 50 to 55 in here. That's the only thing that I'm wanting to try to get doing now. And if you all, if nothing else, if you all say, well, that, we might let you do that, but then we're gonna stop completely until we figure that, nothing, we're not gonna let you do the rest of this until we get this solved.
So being that there's only one way in, and you're proposing to build 229 or 230 homes, and we already have streets that have been approved, I would assume by the city of Berea, would you be willing to, I guess, bond or, in the event that, construction traffic coming through there tears up the city street, to get to your property will be fixed?
Well, that's never really been done. I've never heard of that before.
I think we have.
I don't believe I've ever heard of that before.
Not since I've been in this position, but that's only been 5 years, so.
That road is actually built,
We can definitely talk to
built
legal counsel.
for that. It's actually built, it's called it's a
Collector,
collectors. And it's actually built a little bit bigger. Actually, the blacktop now, they're gonna be bringing it like 4 or more inches to be able to get it up. And it reduces as you get on back in the subdivision because you have less traffic. But, sir, I've done this.
Yeah, but we don't have
But it-
flatbed trucks that have 40,000 pounds of brick on them.
Well,
going
the
up in
roads
there.
are built to withstand that. Even in the subdivision, that's a requirement that we have to withstand that. Any subdivision that you do, you're gonna have concrete trucks, you're gonna have rock trucks. As you do that, you build those streets for that. Yes,
So are you putting sidewalks, curbs, and gutters?
yes, sir.
All right.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that main corridor around there is a little bit wider. That's the only thing that really helps in that main corridor going around. Yeah, you're exactly right. But yeah, if they're parked, especially if they're parked, they had a stuff going on this weekend, yard sales, and it was a little challenge, going through there.
So you're saying that there will be some 1 and 2 acre lots
Not in
in this? I didn't think so. I thought it was in the next one.
I'm talking about when you come into this part of the subdivision, on the right-hand side, there's a cornfield there. And that's how it's easiest for me to
Yeah.
explain it to people.
I know where
That's
it
what I
is.
want to do there.
Okay.
I think, like I said, I think Maria needs that. We really don't have that.
Okay.
And then, like I said, looking at my back over that, better view of, Okay. Well, what's the direction? Please. Please, go ahead. Mr. Little, fine, go right ahead.
you're not used to being on that side of the podium, are you?
Get over here. Everybody probably knows me. I'm Jerry Little. I understand everybody's concerns about this entrance and exit. You know, you gotta be, public safety's number one thing. But that access road that was put in there when this subdivision was built, that comes out on Crescent Drive, our city attorney made us check this out. J.T. Gilbert did, and it can be used. It cannot be blocked off. There's no way they can stop it from being used. So it can be used as entrance and exit. And that's our legal opinion from the city of Brea. And, you know, we don't want to get no lawsuit or nothing, you know, the city don't, but we sort of have to go along with what our attorney says for the city of Brea. And J.T. made that statement today. So I understand it's a concern, everybody wants to, you know, I understand that, but I'm just telling you, the legal part of it is that not correct, Amanda?
Yeah, that was his stance, was that Crestview Drive, again, our responsibility is, as the planning commission, is to make sure that we are connecting to, public right-of-ways, and Crestview Drive is a public right-of-way, and that would be our connection point. So that is his stance.
Okay,
Now, again, you know, does the city want to get into it with county?
that's what I was gonna say. So is it
We're
a,
hoping it don't get there.
okay, am I understanding it is a county road?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I've actually got the plat, just so that you can see how it got laid out.
And
Just-
I met Judge Taylor out there. I'm so used to calling him Reagan, I get confused, just look over me sometimes. But I met him out there, we looked at the situation. And, you know, it's gonna be, before we get back to that point and we tie that part in, it's gonna be probably 2 to 3 years, just guessing at it right now, before we get to that point. he suggested to me, the crash gate's been approved right now for this part. I think it's coming up next. He's saying, when you tie that in, then maybe we take that down. And all this, you re-blacktop the road and you fix all this. And I said, well, I'm good with that because I'm not gonna be back there. And I'm willing to put a bond against that to say that at that time I will fix the road, blacktop it, so the county don't have to and the city don't have to. I'm willing to put a bond up for that part.
And we
And-
looked at a couple of different options. One was seeing if we could annex. One was seeing if the city could maintain Crestview Drive if they improve it. But what you have right now is, so Crestview Drive obviously comes off of Highway 25 as shown right here. It is a 50-foot right-of-way and just stubs out right here. So that connection point, which again, we'll see in this our next agenda item, will connect right here at the end of Crestview Drive. The issue is, more so in my opinion, that, we've got roads built to city standards, and I think that's where Bill's coming from, is that right now we would be connecting to a substandard street not being maintained. It's somewhere between 13 and 15 feet wide, depending on where you go. Let's say 15, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. So I think, widening it, they have the right of way there, that's not an issue. And getting this road to where it's more, travelable and, it can actually be used as an access.
One more thing I'd like
The
to,
city attorney said it's street and they can use it. There's no, why are we putting a cable up there for emergency cable? It has to be cut if emergency. Why do we have to put that up if it's legal to use it now, if it's legal?
nobody's just not questioned it, Shetzer. That's all it is. Nobody has questioned
I
it.
have. No, that, I mean, I know what.
I understand
what
that.
you're
Well,
saying.
I'll tell you
understand-
why,
you
because in a previous phase of construction, when we were talking about building out, let me go back to my other map here. When we were talking about building out this section that's coming in front of us tonight, and when we were talking about building this section that's under construction right now, they proposed having, the planning commission had the same conversation then. You gotta provide another way in, another way out.
But
And,
you didn't have a legal opinion though that
I
time.
didn't have a legal opinion, and again, same roadblock, they're saying you can't use Crestview Drive. And so that was the option at the time, but at the time, we weren't looking at an additional 230 homes.
They're trying to get something through legislation. I do know that, but it's not there. I've had this conversation with them. The county judges are, all over the state of Kentucky. They were talking about getting legislation because the cities are turning traffic out on the roads and then not maintaining the road. This is a situation, we're not telling them we're not gonna maintain the road. We're saying we will maintain the road, we will fix it, so we're not turning them out there and then the county has to. And I understand that Judge Taylor's, he's trying to protect the county. I respect him a lot, but, Stony Creek is part of the county too, so, we have to look at it both ways, That's the way that I look at it. It's just, but I know they've talked about the legislation of trying to make the cities, if you turn out a bunch of traffic on a county road, that you have to do part of the maintenance or something, on that. But there's no legislation there to make anyone do that. So I was told by a lawyer too that they can't stop you. But I don't want to get into it with the county. I deal with them all the time. I don't want with the city. I like to have things smooth and try to take care of it for all of us, and we all come out smiling and we're all happy.
Mrs. Short.
Let me say one more thing and then I'll sit down. You proposed a 200 houses or 2-something, okay? But those houses is not, you probably do 50 lots this time, it'll probably be 3 years before you ever do the whole 200, won't it? How many are you proposing to get ready right now,
Yeah, I
Billy?
think it's 55. I think it's
55, so it's gonna take you a year or two, so you can be assured that that entrance is gonna have the turn lanes fixed and everything, because this ain't gonna happen overnight, what Mr. Short's wanting to do.
Well, and it's not gonna be approved anyway, I know.
Thank
and
y'all
that's
for
already
letting me
been
speak,
brought up.
okay?
Even this last phase that they're coming to try to get the curb, and Rodney's trying to get the curb and blacktop in before winter. But he still knows if that entrance ain't in, they're not gonna get it approved, those 18 lots. You all have already brought that up to his attention, so it has to be done, and it's not gonna be, I just don't want, and I know that it'll be done, and I don't have a problem with sinking more money into this, because I know it'll be done, if that's the consequences that you all are gonna tell me. Listen, you can go in there and do whatever you want to those first 50 lots, and that's or 55, I think it is right now. But if that entrance ain't in, you're not you won't sell a lot. And I understand that, because I've dealt with that through different areas of development, that there is requirements and there is bonds that I have to put up. So if I walk off, or if I pass away or go broke, that has to take care of it.
Mr. Short, I still have one
Yes,
other
ma'am.
question about the construction. I know you're saying it's Wildwood Way. Is this the same Wildwood Way that goes off of 25?
Yes, it's that same, it actually makes a loop, being honest with you.
Right.
It comes all the way
Yeah.
around. And
Okay.
You actually got a 60-foot right of way that ties all the way in
Okay.
to this, what they're fixing to.
Say
actually for
about,
approval here now.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
But I guess what I was thinking is that since this is the main entrance to everything else that's there, is this going to be, it's going to be a lot of construction going into this main entrance off 25? And I know we've already talked
This
about,
is not 25, this is back in the subdivision.
okay. But you have to get, in order to get to that, you have to come in the main entrance, right?
Yep, you do. So they would come in.
Developments going on. What I'm looking at, ma'am, is, we have Todd's Carpenter, my son does some building in there, Ronnie does some building in there. What I'm looking at is, whenever they get those built out there, they're gonna move to the next phase. So we're not talking about any more traffic now, because they're not gonna be building them now. They're not gonna build them those until they get these first ones that they're building on now. So your traffic, as far as construction, will stay the same, because you're doing it in phases. So it's not like you're going in there and doing 2 or 3 phases at once and having a lot of different contractors in there. We're looking at, I've talked with the Todds, I've talked with Mr. Carpenter, and of course my son wants some. So that's what our plan is to keep the same thing going on that's going on in there now. So that same flow of traffic and construction and people building is pretty well going to stay the same thing as what it has for the last, being honest with you, the last few years. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Comments? Do you have a sense of what we've said here, or
I know
does
there's been a lot
anyone
said.
have a sense of what we've said here?
I'm just saying, if I can, I just being honest with you, and that's the way I like to be. I just want to kind of get a feel for if I'm at least going to get 50 lots. If I ain't going to get the rest of them, am I going to be able to do the 50 lots? So I can move forward, and that's kind of where we're at. And then if nothing else is done, I can't go nowhere. I can't do anything else. I just have to farm the rest of it. I put corn on it, I guess.
Well, but just,
I just like to be a straight up person.
right, so just kind of one comment is, when I look at this, is that we're gonna have next the development that ties into this one, right? So if nothing goes here
Yeah.
and we approve that, how are they gonna get there? Right? So I
No,
can,
No.
they're coming,
No,
They're
theirs
coming
is
off-
up here.
okay,
They're
Okay.
theirs is this.
Okay.
right here.
Oh, there, okay.
And his comes off of Wildwood back here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So when
okay.
he's talking about 55 lots, he means right in here.
yes,
Okay.
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 It's considered like phase one.
yes,
Then,
yes,
yeah,
And
like
it's
a
probably
phase
6 to
one.
8 months before you even start building in there.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying that the way that it works out, she was talking about the traffic, and that's, that is. When you get a lot going on in a lot of different areas, like I said, we're looking at getting this one hopefully ready by the time they get these houses sold, so that they just keep kind of stepping back, is what you do in the development part of it.
I think our concern is more with the final outcome, though, isn't it? More so than the 6 or 8 months is what we're gonna have at the end of the day. You know, it's still gonna be a whole lot of traffic in and out of there.
Okay. Well, let
Like I
me,
said, I know you're concerned about the turning lanes and all that stuff and the traffic in and out, you know, and I know it's a big concern. The state really regulates the traffic, coming onto a state road. And that's what they allow you to do and not to do on that part of it, because they won't allow you to put so much in.
okay.
And I think that's really in, having been in a lot of these conversations about Stony Creek, I think that would help more than anything, because the reality is that we don't know the number that the state allows you to put out onto a state, 2-lane state road, you know, so I think that's where there has consistently been some heartburn, is what is that number, right? What is that number of rooftops, or what's that number of traffic, or whatever, you know?
Is there anything in the future about widening 25 more? But that's beyond a traffic study. It's not much, it's not like coming out of Richmond or something.
I'm not aware of that. You know, I know they're widening, up past Duncannon,
Yeah,
but I don't know about this direction.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's to release all that traffic.
And the
Okay.
state is like anything else. We've asked for traffic lights in some places that I've done before. The state, until it's a problem, they're not gonna do it. That's just a fact of it, and that's what, you know, until there's a problem, they're not gonna fix it.
Okay.
And, you know, like at the city commission that I was over not too long ago, 6 months ago, you know, they say we have to make a problem before they'll fix the problem. And it's terrible that it is like that they put that on your back, but that's what they do.
Okay, so let me just kind of get a sense.
It also puts us in a place, I hope you understand where we stand, because I want the builders to keep building. That's what I always
Yes.
want the builders to keep building, you know, and try to keep it as easy as you all as we can, because we need the houses. We need, you know, if we're growing, we're gonna need those houses. And so, you know, we try to work with you every way we can, so that's what we're trying to do. But at the same time, we had a room full of gravely concerned citizens here not long ago, so that puts us in a spot, you know, so we're just trying to figure out what's best for everybody.
I understand that 100%, and you should.
Okay, so is it my understanding as I've listened that while we have this grave concern regarding being able to come into Crestwood, is that the street there? Another entrance, but are we comfortable with Mr. Short being able to do 50, 55 houses at this point? Only 50, 55 houses at this point. Recognizing that, yes, there will be, I agree with you, we are finally, hopefully we'll finally get the turn lane and all of that in the beginning of that, so. Because I think
And I
that's what you
understand
wanted, you wanted just to have some sense of what the.
Yes, ma'am.
What we
Yeah.
would do.
Yeah, 'cause
We
I've
don't
already-
want 230 houses right now.
Right, and I understand.
And we probably would, like, I
100%.
agree, we would, but,
Yeah.
we're not
That way
ready
we
for
can just
that.
move forward and we can keep, what happens in the building industry is when you come to a stalemate, it's not good. as you understand this, you get to where you don't have houses to sell, people start going other places and looking for houses. So we try to keep these phases going. That way we keep the lots open for the builders. And then that way they don't have to leave, they don't have to quit, because they could have had all those houses sold if they'd have been available. We come to a stalemate here at the end of the year that we run out of lots. You know, I've been building on lots that shouldn't be built on, being honest with you, because it's cost me a fortune getting them ready, because they're just bad lots. But that's what we build on to keep the guys busy, you know.
Well, I think that, you know, the developers need to also understand the concerns that we have.
Oh, I understand.
Right, and I'm not just talking about traffic and whatever, I'm also talking about infrastructure, I'm talking about water, I'm talking about sewer,
Yep.
all that stuff.
Yep.
And, you know, it has to be, you know, something that's feasible. And I'm concerned, still concerned, that we only have one entrance into this massive subdivision that continues to grow and mushroom.
Yeah, and I understand that, but like I said, I understand that this is
I worry
not at
about
capacity
police, fire,
as
all that
others,
stuff,
others are, and in this county,
and public safety,
yeah, and,
right?
yeah, because like I said, my mother lives in there. I really understand that.
I like what you said about, who wrote the book about how many houses we can build out there and dump out that one exit? Whether it was 500 or 1,000 or whatever, who decided that we can't let over so many houses get built and come out that one road? I don't know where we gotta make that decision at. I'm lost here. You know, cause I don't.
It's really the state, being honest with you.
State.
The state tells you what you can turn out on the road.
So, how many, they say we can turn out on that road there at Stony where it comes out on 25. How many can we turn out there?
I don't know if they done a traffic survey at the beginning. They
that's-
should have had to do a traffic study. And that's what I stated earlier, that I have got someone working on a traffic study. But until those, they can come in here and tell you all kinds of stuff, but they can't put it on paper and tell you that it's all legal until those turning lanes are in, because they can't calculate the time frame of people stopping. Because what they do is they tell you how long that car has to sit there before it pulls out, how many cars is sitting there. Okay, so that's what they do when they do a traffic survey.
I would hate to turn that down because it says we're gonna have too many houses back in there, when the state can't say that we're gonna have too many houses back in there.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, really, it don't make good sense for us
Yeah.
to vote against what we don't know or for what we don't know.
And that's the point I'm at. I think that we need that tool to know, for somebody that's what they do for a living, to tell us that this is what it was approved for. And again, that goes back to, we have this preliminary plan from 20 years ago that showed 5 connection points. Well, we have one. You know, we have one. And 1.5, if you want to call it that, with the crash gate. You know, so that's where I just think some of that, like, if we were going to look at opening a new subdivision, I would hope that, brand new off 25, I would hope that we would say, you know, what size entrance are we putting in? What's our maximum capacity? Look at those things,
yeah,
right?
I just had to do that at Prairie View subdivision. Twin Lakes, I'd done the Prairie View that's right beside of it. Had to get a traffic study done. We couldn't get a second entrance out there. I've got a crash gate there, just for an emergency in case something happens to the dams. So they come in, they unlock it, they go out it. But the state, yeah, we done the traffic study. No, the state's good with one. Even though the county wanted a second entrance and then they found out, you know, you hate to get lawyers involved, but kindly said that the cities does not really regulate traffic. The state regulates traffic. You all can base it on, you can say a safety issue or however you all, you know, and that like that, but you can't, it's not really, because like Chester said, you can't really, he don't know. So he's sitting here thinking, well, how many goes in, how many goes out? Yeah. So that's the biggest problem with that. Yes.
So I think if we had a traffic study to go by, we'd be more definitive on what the plan would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Let me make sure, and you're understanding 55, and everyone around here is understanding no more than 55 at this time? Is that what we're saying? Are we saying no to any? 55, okay.
and then that would give me time
that's
to get
not a
all the
vote,
traffic
that's
studies
just
done.
an agreement.
Everything done and bring forward to you all.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna take a little period of time to get all that stuff done. Is they'll come out and they'll set stuff up and they'll, note the cars and all that stuff. If I could get just that at this time, just to move forward,
That would give you something.
and
to keep
then
moving.
when I bring that in front of you all can say, well, no, we can't do that. That's, no. Or you can go up to this amount and that's it. That's kind of just what I'm asking for tonight, just to try to move forward. Through this times, you have to order this stuff. I've got brass that has to be ordered 3 months ahead of time. I order it now, I get it 3 months from now. It's been a trying time for the developer, and the prices pipe went from $5 a foot to $15 a foot. It's a very difficult time, if we don't clockwork this out, everybody thinks the developer just makes boo-goo of money. Well, ask my nephew how it is. I asked Mr. Combs how it is. It's not what everyone thinks it is. If everything works out, you got to make money, but you don't make what everyone thinks you make. I don't know.
Okay, so you comfortable, Mrs. Short?
So
I think the agreement was up to 55. Do I hear?
yeah, and
Do I have?
I appreciate your all's time and things.
And once the traffic study's done and everything, then.
It may be more.
That would be,
Yes.
yeah, that would be something different,
Like I
that
say,
would give us.
he's
something.
6 to 8 months just to get the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to get those
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so yeah,
exactly right.
whatever I need to do to say, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not it's a work session and an
Okay.
agreement, that you can move forward with that.
Okay, thank you all very much. I appreciate everybody's time.
Okay. Whew. Okay. Wait a minute. Let's get to my second item on work session is Stony Creek subdivision, Unit 3, Phase 2, preliminary plat with construction plans, True Property Development, LLC. Yes, please. Oh, turn his light on, turn the mic on. Thank you.
I'm Kendall Wise, and I work for Vantage Engineering, so I'm part of the group doing the surveying and planning of these plans. And Colton McGlone's here with me. He also works with me, and he did a lot of the details on these plans. So, the subdivision is an extension of what's been done, already in the last couple of years by Rodney Short and Wendell Combs. I don't know what questions you might have about this phase, but obviously the big point of discussion is how to access the property with more than one entrance. And so we felt the same way about Crestview Road, Crestview Street. I mean, it's a public street, we felt like, but we did recognize that there could be issues with dumping traffic onto that road because of the width of it. And if we do intend for a lot of the people that live in this neighborhood to pass through that road, some improvements really need to be made to it. And so the crash gate was something that we suggested be done now, initially, until a plan was, put forth to make Crestview a street that could handle more of the people that live in this neighborhood. So the crash gate, we're proposing a cul-de-sac street there. I'm sure the developer would be thrilled to not have to build that street. We'd gain very little by building that street other than this secondary connection to Crestview. emergency exits, basically what you're getting out of it right now. But in the future, obviously, if Crestview gets upgraded, the existing Crestview, then, you know, you could have a secondary point of access to the whole neighborhood. We've got an offset cul-de-sac there at the end of, an offset cul-de-sac bulb there at the end of the street, so that vehicles would get to that crash gate and they would have a means of turning about and going back the other way. And I don't know exactly how the crash gate's gonna work. We've got a detail in our construction plans of what it would look like, but I expect it would be, the bigger emergency vehicles could possibly ram it and go through it, but we would expect that each of the fire department and the police, all of the emergency services would have a key to a lock that would be on that gate. So that's our temporary proposal, I guess, for keeping the public from using Crestview Road and until a better plan is put forth to upgrade Crestview and its connection to Richmond Road. At least we'll have a way for emergency vehicles to get in and out of the neighborhood if the main entrance gets blocked for some reason.
So from the staff perspective, they have turned the plans in. It's been reviewed by the development review team, and that meeting was last Thursday. The reason that I asked them to come to a work session now, rather than doing it the same night as we have been doing it, is our agenda for the end of the month is getting pretty full. And rather than have a really lengthy meeting, I wanted to, and because it coincided with another item that was on the agenda for tonight, I had asked them to come in, because these two projects very much relate to each other. And but just again, as a reminder, the crash gate is something that they had brought before Planning Commission when they were proposing to build this. So this section here that's under construction right now. So Brook Cove and Stillwater Drive, kind of this little section, is phase 1 of Unit 3. And then at the time that they brought all of this in for that preliminary plat, they showed us more like a layout or conceptual of what this was gonna be, and we had discussed that crash gate at that point. And so again, it's been through the development review team process. They have, that meeting was last Thursday. There were a few items that came out of that meeting, so they've resubmitted plans yesterday. I've sent those out for re-review by our review team, so they'll have a few days to get those reviewed. Again, that's why I wanted to go ahead and get it in front of you guys as a work session, just to make sure that that there weren't any issues that we needed to talk about. There would be one variance that they would ask for as part of the plat approval, and that is the thickness of the pavement on Stony Creek Way. So this kind of section, this old section of Stony Creek Way, that's been there probably 20 years. As they have added on to Stony Creek Way, which all their new stuff here abuts stuff that we've approved pretty recently. It's the same pavement thickness that we approved on this, but our requirements say that the pavement thickness for Stony Creek Way for that type of road is supposed to be, and now I don't remember, I didn't make myself note. It's supposed to be 6 inches of base, an inch and a half of surface.
But it's 8 inches of DGA. It's in our proposal, the DGA I think is actually
Yeah. It's a little
Kind of
bit hard
fuzzy
to
from
read.
here.
So this is a major collector street, so it's this top section. They're showing 10 inches of DGA, 3 inches of base, and 1.5 inches of surface. And our regulations actually require less rock, more base. But we have allowed them to build this exact road section and what this ties into. So we've allowed it in the past. I just wanted to formally capture that at the end of the meeting, or at the business session, so that we get that on record. That would be a variance from our regulations.
So Amanda, from the meeting on Thursday, what were some comments, concerns, questions?
Oh, they were minor. One thing is we hadn't given them their 911 addresses, so they added those. Those come from us. We just hadn't gotten them to them. They needed to add some dimensions for the surveyor. I assume you guys got with the city engineer. Were y'all able to make contact with the city engineer about his comments?
We haven't gotten a reply yet.
Okay,
We've responded,
okay. I'll check up on that.
yeah.
The engineer's comments are usually above my head, so I can't
Yeah.
speak to what those were. A couple comments from the city engineer, but that's always the case. Otherwise, it was very, very minor. We asked them to put a concrete washout pit on their erosion control plan. That was taken care of. I was able to mark off, all of everybody's comments except for the city engineers.
Okay.
Everybody was great with the crash gate.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but they're not looking at, they're not planners, right? They're technical reviewers.
Okay.
And I think that's the difference. They review it for the technical requirements of our plans. And I think that connectivity is more a function of this
I think,
body.
yeah, I think we've got it set up so that if and when Crestview is upgraded, I just don't think you can cut a bunch of traffic loose on the Crestview that's there now. You're gonna have problems at Richmond Road, you're gonna have problems with the road not being wide enough, the one that's there now. I mean, but
According to previous conversation, that's how things get fixed.
There's a problem.
once there's a problem, it tends to get fixed, right? So,
So, tear down the gate.
Yeah. So is this 183 lots? Is that what this is? Is that what I'm reading on here?
it's not quite that many.
So like she said earlier, it was phase 3 was parts 1 and 2.
Uh-huh.
So from the time that we started, there is 186 lots, but 87 of those are roughly already built. So
Okay,
this is only 102 new lots.
okay.
102 residential lots and one lot that would be an open space detention basin area, right?
Okay.
And they are proposing an HOA, from what I understand, right? I think, I talked to, oh, you're not, okay,
No,
I'm not aware of that.
okay, I'm sorry.
Maybe
I,
that's-
I heard Mr. Short said HOA.
Yeah.
That, they
Yeah.
are, but
Yeah.
to my knowledge, the developer will continue to own that open space and,
Okay, maintain it, okay,
Right.
all right.
unless the city wants to own
We don't,
Ah, no.
we
Um,
don't.
Other questions, comments, concerns? Okay.
There's not a need for approval here. We're just
Correct.
Look at
Yeah,
this.
we're just looking at it.
And we
Hopefully
know-
we
The
get
approval
approval
is
at the
on
next meeting.
the next
Yeah, in
meeting.
2 weeks
And,
at the.
you know, if there are conditions that go along with, you know, we've put together a set of construction plans and a preliminary plat with the assumption that if he builds it, the way we've proposed it, you'll approve a final plat. That's how the process works. And if there are any additional conditions, like I know the last phase that we brought in here for Rodney Short, there was a condition that the turn lanes be completed before you recorded that last plat. I think that when he renewed his preliminary plat, you all put that condition on. So it just needs to be clear what, in the next meeting, what, if any, other conditions there are. Hopefully there aren't a lot, but,
Okay.
because, you know, I think Mr. Short alluded to, I mean, that's, you know, when a developer puts all of this money into public infrastructure and then just gives it to the city, and the city then gets to tax people for the land, it's a big donation.
Deal.
And so, developers, I'm just putting a
Yeah, but
plug out there for developers.
right. But I don't necessarily believe that the developers are doing it as a charity offering to cities and municipalities.
Sometimes I think,
I don't
I
think
agree.
that.
It's a job.
I understand that. I understand that. But
We'll leave that alone. Okay. Any other comments, any other concerns that we have? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
So just so you guys know what to plan for, in 2 weeks, we will have a zone change on that agenda. There will be, a preliminary plat approval, for Vantage, this section of Stony Creek Way and, Branch View Drive. There will be a couple letters of credit. There's a development plan that's at Stony Creek, that's gonna be on that agenda, so we will have a jam-packed, business session next week. Probably shouldn't tell you all that so that I could get a quorum here, but but whoever skips out, you might be getting a phone call, please get
That's right,
here.
Get here.
We're gonna have to start spreading some of this stuff out a little.
Yeah, well, tell them that.
Yeah.
And again, I just wanna reiterate, we are for you, we're not against you. Of
That's
course,
right.
we wanna work together to make it work, you know.
Yeah.
But we go out in the community and people are saying, I can't believe you let that many houses get in that area, and blah, you know, so it puts us in it, you know, we try to make it work for everybody, but we're definitely for the builders, and we wanna make it work. We wanna work with you guys any way we can.
Where's the zone change?
Central Park.
Okay, any other comments? Any other? Okay, then, we'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you guys very much.